So for this tutorial video, for the flared dress, we need 3 yards. So I'm going to be folding to the sides, not full flare, triangular flare, because if you want it very full, then you use more than 3 yards. But I feel when you cut it so full, it makes one looks a bit clumsy, especially if it's Ankara fabric. So now, after taking the length that I desire, I'm subtracting the red fabric I'm going to add at the top. I want to dress 42 length, so, and the red, plain red, is going to be like 8 inches. So you need to get the length and the width of the bust from the top. This dress needs no shaping because it's a flared dress, but not a full flare, it's semi-flare. So after cutting the front panel, all I need to do is to fold the same way the remaining of the fabric in bias form for the flared dress, and I'm going to place the front panel on the fold, on the second fold, to get the back panel. So just place on it, and you're going to cut exactly the same length. So remember, the full dress length is about 42. So I subtracted the 8 inches of the plain red I'm going to put on the top. So what I'm cutting here is actually 35 inches long flare for a size 14. So the size 14 bust is about 40. So for the upper part of my flare, I made sure I add about 44, leaving enough allowance for sewing. So don't be in a rush, just make sure that your fabric is well placed, because you don't want to have them not uneven. So I'm just getting a cut using the front pattern, the front panel as a pattern for the flared dress. I prefer to cut flare on the ground if you don't have a very big table. So you just place on the floor of your house to cut. There you have enough space to go around. Okay, so that's it. Now, having cut this, I'm going to get my red fabric and I'm going to cut 8 inches. So I'm just going to get my tape and measure the length of the fabric I need, because I'm not going to be cutting on the table or straight. I'm not going to use I'm not going to measure it all along. I'm just going to cut off what I need. Since this material is crepe, I can cut the way I'm cutting. You just tear out. But if it's the Ankara fabric or your print, please do not try this, because it's not going to be even. But for crepe or chiffon, it's fine. So now I didn't cut 8, I cut 9. I always prefer to have surplus than to run short. So now I'm going to place that also and measure it against the flare for the flared dress, the triangular flare, the semi-flare we just cut. So it has to be exactly the same length. But when I cut, I always prefer to add extra, then after I can trim. So instead of cutting exactly the same length at the top of the flare, I'm going to leave an extra 1 inch long. I'll make it an extra 1 inch longer. So now I'm going to go to the machine and I need to join. So we need to join the red fabric to the Ankara fabric before we cut the neckline, because you can't just start cutting without joining it. You may have issues. So I'm going to stitch the red fabric to the Ankara, to the flare, the 2 panel, because we have 2 panels, one in front and the other one for the back. So while I'm sewing, I'm using 1/2 inch seam allowance, and that was why I cut 8 inches long red fabric. So for the joining, 1/2 inch, for the shoulder joining, another 1/2 inch. So at the end of the sewing, we're going to have 7 inches. So when cutting, always keep that at the back of your mind. Sometimes it's better to cut longer than what you need than to go short, because if it's not long enough, you may need to start, you know, patching up your dress. But if it's too long, you can always reduce. So it's better to go overboard with your measurements. So I haven't done that now. Place on the table again. I need to cut now the excess fabric off. Okay, so I'll do that for both panels before I place them together. What I love about this dress is that it's free, it's comfy, it only cinches at the bust. Every other part of the dress is actually free, so you don't need to worry about the waist or the hip measurement. So now we're going to place together. So while you place together, if your fabric is a bit slippery, you can use a pin, or if you are having issues for them to be placed together, use a pin, it's fine. Okay, make sure the parts you had sewn are aligned, so that the back and the front can be on the same level. Now we can take the measurement for the shoulder. So for this particular flared dress tutorial, I'm actually going to take I'm going to use the 16 inches measurement. So I'm trimming off the excess from my fabric. I just measured first what I need. It's important to be precise when you cut. So 16 inches shoulder, I'm going to make it 17 because I need to leave 1/2 inch for the sewing. So after sewing, if I cut 17, it's going to come to 16. Then for the neckline, I'm doing 4.5 by 4.5. So it's a crew neck, but it's a bit like canoe or boat neck, but not as wide as a boat neck. So I cut off the back and the front, taking off 2 inches first. I'm going to cut off the armhole. I measured 9 inches. So after sewing, it will come to 8 inches. For a size 14, 8 inches armhole is just perfect. So now I'm going to take down the front neckline. So the front is lower than the back. For this neckline, we don't need zip or to make an incision for button, because it's wide enough to go through the neck, the head. So now for my pockets, I measured 18.5. I notched that part so it can guide me when sewing the pockets. Now I need to cut the sleeves. So I got about 10 inches fabric again. I want it to be 8 inches after sewing, so I actually got 10 inches long fabric. Don't forget to always leave your sewing allowance 1 inch extra, just in case the sleeve is too tight. You can always free it up. On how to fix a pocket while sewing, you could check one of my earlier videos. I actually showed how that could be done. Now I need to cut the bias. So you need to cut it diagonally. You can't cut it straight. If you cut a straight fabric, you would have problems when you're trying to fix it. So because it's flare that was cut, my fabric is in flare pattern, and that was why I was able to cut that way. So never cut your bias straight. It has to stretch after cutting. Now for my pocket, 12 inches long as usual. And for this I did 8 inches wide. After sewing, I'll have 7 inches so the hand can fit in. When I cut my pocket, I normally cut with regards to the size of the person or the dress I'm making. But the maximum you can do really is 8 inches wide pocket. So we can go start sewing. The first thing you do is to stitch together the shoulder, 1/2 inch. So you don't miss any of my videos, don't forget to subscribe, like, give me a thumbs up, feel free to share to your friends, and leave a comment if you need to clarify anything with regards to this semi-flare dress tutorial. So now we're going to start piping. So I pipe from the inside so that I can sew on top of the red, because I want the piping or to actually be obvious, because it's going to form part of the design of the dress. So my piping was actually about 1 inch wide. If it's too wide, it will be too big. And if it's too tiny, you may have issues also while sewing. So 1 inch is just fine. And you need to make sure it's long enough to go round. So what I cut is enough to go round the neck, sewing once without having to, join the bias. Because it's Ankara, it could be really bulky if you join. So make sure your bias is long enough. Make sure as you fold while sewing that it's even. You don't want to have some parts bigger than others, so you just take your time and fold neatly. So that's nicely done. So now we can go to closing the sides of the flared dress. So I'm just going to sew about 1 inch down. So as I said earlier, if you don't know how to fix your pocket, one of my past videos I actually did a tutorial for a dress, and I showed how a pocket can be fixed.